Most people finish a conversation and move on. They say what they say, they hear what they hear, and then they go back to their lives. But some people finish a conversation and immediately start a second one, alone, inside their head, finally, running through every word, every pause, every moment where the other person's expression shifted just slightly, every sentence that could have landed a little differently. If that sounds like you, this video is going to explain exactly why your brain does that. And by the end, you'll have a real way to start breaking the loop. Not by thinking less, not by caring less, but by giving your brain what it's actually looking for. Here's something most people don't understand about the replay. Your brain isn't doing it randomly. It's doing it because it's treating that conversation like an unfinished task. Think about it this way. When you leave something incomplete, a project you haven't submitted, an email sitting in your drafts, your brain keeps a tab open in the background, quietly holding on to it, waiting for you to close it. Conversations work the same way. When your brain isn't fully sure how something landed, a word you chose, a moment that felt slightly off, it flags it, and it keeps coming back to it. Not to make you miserable, but because it genuinely thinks it's helping. The replay is your brain trying to finish something it couldn't resolve in real time. The problem is, it doesn't know when to stop. Now here's something that might surprise you. The conversations you replay the most aren't always the ones where something clearly went wrong. Sometimes it's a completely ordinary conversation. Nothing dramatic happened. Nobody seemed upset. Everything was probably fine. And yet 3 hours later, you're still in it. Why? Because the replay isn't triggered by certainty. It's triggered by uncertainty. Your brain noticed something small, a delayed response, a word that felt slightly out of place, a pause that lasted one beat too long. And instead of filing it away, your brain put it in the queue and started reviewing it. Some people's brains do this more than others. And if yours does, it's likely because you're processing more during a conversation than most people realize. You're not just hearing the words, you're tracking tone, timing, mood, the thing that wasn't said. That's a lot of data. And your brain, doing what it thinks is helpful, decides all of it is worth reviewing afterward. The result? A loop that feels impossible to turn off. But here's what that actually tells you, and this is important. We'll get there in just a minute. First, let's talk about the 5 signs this pattern is running in you. The first sign is that you replay differently, depending on who the conversation was with. You don't do this with everyone. You do it with people whose opinion of you actually matters to you. A boss, a parent, someone you're getting to know, someone you're not quite sure about yet. The louder the replay, the more that person's approval holds weight with you. The second sign is that you don't just replay, you rewrite. You don't only review what happened, you rehearse what you wish you had said. The cleaner explanation, the more confident answer, the version of yourself that had it all figured out. You edit yourself in real time, inside your own head, long after the moment has passed. The third sign is that you scan ordinary moments for hidden danger. A friend takes a little longer than usual to respond. A coworker gives you a shorter reply than normal. Most people notice and forget it within seconds. But your brain immediately starts building explanations, and they're rarely the generous ones. The fourth sign is that the replaying gets louder when you're already drained. When your energy is low, your brain's ability to filter uncertainty drops. The small things you might brush off on a good day become much harder to ignore on a hard one. The loop doesn't change, but the volume goes up. And the fifth sign, pay attention to this one, is that you almost never replay conversations where you felt genuinely secure, when you trusted the person completely, when the connection felt solid, when you weren't second-guessing the dynamic at all. You didn't replay that conversation. The loop shows up where the security isn't, and that tells you something important. The problem was never really the conversation. It was the uncertainty sitting underneath it. Now, let's talk about what this actually costs you. Because the replay doesn't stay inside your head. It pulls you out of your real life. You're sitting at dinner with people you love, and your mind is 3 hours back, in a conversation that already ended. You're trying to fall asleep, but your brain is still running lines, still looking for the moment you might have gotten something wrong. Here's the irony. All that reviewing almost never changes anything. The conversation is done. You can't go back and rewrite it in real life, only in your head. But your brain keeps acting like if it just reviews it one more time, it'll finally find what it's looking for. And the real cost isn't just the mental energy, even though that's real and it's significant. The real cost is your presence. It's the moments happening right in front of you that you miss, because part of you is still stuck somewhere else. The goal isn't to stop noticing things. The goal is to stop paying for that, noticing with your peace. So let's talk about how to actually start breaking this loop. 3 steps. Nothing complicated, but each one matters. The first step is simply to notice. The moment you catch yourself replaying, stop and name what's happening, not with judgment, just as a fact. I'm replaying this conversation right now. That one small act of naming it creates a little distance between you and the loop, just enough for your brain to take a breath. The second step is to ask what your brain is actually looking for. This is where most people skip ahead, and that's why the loop keeps running. Instead of trying to push the replay away, get curious about it. Are you looking for reassurance that you said the right thing? Are you searching for proof that the other person is still okay with you? Are you trying to locate the exact moment you think you made a mistake? When you can name the specific thing your brain is hunting for, the loop starts to lose its grip because now it's visible, and visible things are a lot easier to work with than invisible ones. The third step is to give your brain permission to close the file. Tell yourself out loud if you need to. That conversation is complete. I don't need to find anything in it. I can let this one close. It won't work perfectly every time, but over time, you're teaching your brain something it genuinely needs to learn. Not every open tab needs to stay open forever. Here's the reframe I want to leave you with. Replaying conversations isn't a sign that something is wrong with you. It's a sign that you pay attention, that you care about how you show up. That connection matters enough to you that you take it seriously, even after the conversation ends. Those aren't flaws. They only become painful when there's no off switch. You don't need to stop noticing. You don't need to care less. You just need a way to tell your brain this one is done. You can rest now. The people who replay conversations the most are usually the same people who are the most genuinely present when they're actually in one. They're listening carefully. They're picking up on things others miss. They're really, truly there. That's not a problem. That's a kind of attentiveness most people never develop. You just have to learn to put it down when it's time. Which of those 5 signs felt the most like you? Drop it in the comments. I read every single one. Every word you second guess was spoken with care. Every loop you run is a mind that dares. You don't replay because you fear the worst. You replay because connection always comes first. So close the file. Release the night. Some things don't need a rewrite to be right. Which of the 5 signs felt the most like you? Tell me in the comments.